Welcome to How Good's Innovation Online series. Today, we're going to be talking about reimagining resilient ingredients from a chef's perspective. We have Fabricio Goulart, founder and head chef at Feitosa Gourmet and Feitosa Food Tech, and Pierre Thiam will be joining us shortly, co-founder and executive chef at Yolélé Foods and Teranga. Here's an overview of what we're going to be covering. I'll do this brief little introduction here. We'll have this conversation with the thought leaders who are here today. And then we will go into some brief interactive community breakouts about 35-40 minutes in, where you can connect with some of the other folks who are here, talk about what's exciting that you're hearing, and then we'll come back for Q&A. There is also, you'll see in the Zoom, there's a little chat function. And so if you have thoughts or questions, really questions we're most interested in, you can put them in the chat. We may or may not see them. I try to kind of keep an eye on them as we're going, but we might not get there until that Q&A time at the end, in which case we'll definitely pick up questions at that point. But you're welcome to use the chat. Also, if you're having any technical challenges, Kate from our team is here and you can chat directly to her. She will help you out. Before we get started, I just want to bring your attention to a couple upcoming events in this series. So we have a focus where this is the larger innovation series, and this particular little mini set is focused on product innovation and product development. And so we have, along with our talk today and the conversation we had last week with Danone, members from the Danone innovation ecosystem, we have some folks coming up. Ali Bouzari from Pilot R&D, we'll talk about building sustainable products. We'll also talk with Danielle Gould from Food and Tech Connect on how to do regenerative product incubation and acceleration. And then Steve Gundrum from a very venerable firm, Matson, in product development, product R&D, will bring us some insights on how to think about scale and how to think about scaling up products. And then there's just one other thing I'll mention for anyone who's on here. We are launching a new working group. It's called Product Innovation for Impact. And this is going to be especially for product formulators, product developers who want to get together and share learnings and look at some of the tools and tactics that are out there and really just dig in on how do you innovate in terms of product creation and innovate not just for the marketplace, but also innovate for impact. So that's kicking off later this year and will run to the end of the year. If you would like an invitation to that, please contact Kate, who likely sent you the invite for this, and her email's there. And we can see if we can get you an invitation as an invite-only group. But if you're here today, you're invited. Just send us a note and let us know that you would like to be in. Okay, without any further ado, let's kick it off with Fabricio. Welcome, thank you for joining us. And maybe you could just tell us a little bit about, I don't know, who you are, what's inspiring to you as a chef, as a product creator. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you everyone. So I'm here to share a little bit my experience and how I start the Feitosa Food Tech and my inspiration and motivation to do that. So I'm a chef. I start this career as a chef after I changed everything in my career in IT market. So I used to work for years at Dell Technologies, and one day I decided to do something more for people and more with some impact to share and improve the way we live. When I decided to change my career to food and beverage market, I went to Vancouver. I decided to live for 2 years there and work in a food market, work in restaurants, doing some internships in hotels, and starting to visit the local farmers. And I understand how the Canadians and the place who doesn't have a food biodiversity works very well, because sometimes they catch like the blueberries and they do many things with the one thing. And I start to thinking, so I live in Brazil. I'm a Brazilian. I have a lot of food benefits because I have a food biodiversity, but sometimes people doesn't know how to work with this food. So how can I do something different for my country or for people and generating a positive impact? So I decided to go back to Brazil using this kind of mindset, like to use one kind of food, one ingredient, and make a lot of things. And I choose bananas. When I'm back in Brazil, I decided to open a food truck, and because in that time the burger wave, you know, was something amazing. Every corner had one burger store, so I have to sell sauce. So let's make some sauce. And I started to thinking about how can I offer something using bananas, we using the same concept of Heinz did in the past, using the mature tomatoes and the extra red tomatoes, you know, almost going to the waste. And I use the same concept using bananas, using the, you know, the high levels of sugar, so natural sugar, and to produce my sauce. And I made the first Brazilian ketchup using bananas before going to the waste. And was something amazing because I try all the time to making something 100% natural, um, uh, no gluten, it's a gluten free, and no chemicals, no you know, preservatives, only naturals, and making something sustainable too. So generating impact to the banana producers, the banana growers, and delivering something to make people happy, or not you to don't feel like a guilty when you eat something, you know, this is very fat, or a lot of chemicals. No, I don't want to eat anymore, but I love it. No, 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 no. Let's let's step some backs before you eat in thinking. So I'm offering something natural and very good for your health.
Amazing.
And generate positive impact. So that's my first thinking when I decided to found the Feitosa Food Tech, thinking about using bananas to make many things using this material, this kind of food.
It's amazing. And I think we'll hear more as we go on about some of the other products you're creating, but just, you know, that upcycled banana ketchup is a product that has not, you know, it's not been seen very many places in the world. And it's an amazing flavor. I've gotten a chance to taste it and definitely worth all of you, you know, getting your hands on this Brazilian upcycled banana ketchup. Thank you, Fabricio, and welcome. And welcome also to Pierre. Thank you so much for joining us today. So glad you could be here. And you may need to take yourself off mute, but yes, excellent, right on, welcome. And so we were just doing some initial introductions and especially sort of what inspires you as a chef and also as a chef entrepreneur, a product creator, a product developer. So yeah, if you could introduce yourself and tell us a bit about that, that would be lovely.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. And what inspires me, it's a broad question as a chef. So I guess before being a chef, I'm from Senegal. So I'm inspired by that tradition. You know, I grew up eating the wonderful cuisines of West Africa, and that never left me. This is something when I immigrated to the United States a few decades ago now, African food was pretty much inexistent, and I immigrated in New York City, which was the food capital of the world. So that in itself, I saw it as an opportunity. I've worked at Italian restaurants and French restaurants, and there was no such thing as an African restaurant that could be representing at that same level. You know, there was some mom and pops, you know, just for the immigrant community, but I thought there was a way to cross that, and for different reasons. One, because I believed our food had its place in New York City. You know, that's where I started. I believe that our food had played a major role around the world, especially in the Middle Passage. Fabricio can testify to that because Brazil has a strong African influence. Southern cuisine in America has a strong African influence. The Caribbeans, obviously. So there was no reason why there was not an African cuisine more present. So I was inspired by that. I was definitely inspired by the tradition. The tradition being that we have a cuisine that's quite well balanced, that um, without waste, actually, we use, so much of ingredients that are overlooked when it comes to Western cuisine. I want to talk about the leaves in particular, when we have sweet potato leaves, cassava leaves, things that, you don't think of it as ingredients, yet they're very nutritious and delicious, quite frankly, because as a chef, I look for flavors first, and this was also another source of inspiration. So pretty much my inspiration is around my environment, my origins, my roots, and what's around there, and the environment obviously is a big part of the cuisine.
It's amazing. I mean, I wish it's so, when you speak to it, it seems so clear and obvious. That's where so much food inspiration has come from for thousands of years. But it's funny, it doesn't as much today, right? We've gone in this direction where inspiration comes from what's cheap, or what's super sweet or super this other, but not from the origins of the place, not from the origins of the people and the culture. And yet you are bringing that vision, both of you, in your products. But how do you do that? How do you come into a marketplace that is a capitalist, big food driven for most of the calories, and yet you're carrying this story of flavor, of tradition, of origin? How do you bring that in and actually design a product or create a product from that, even in this environment? And so maybe we'll go Pierre first and then back over to Fabricio. How do you make a product, innovate a product, and kind of get it to market here, carrying the origins and yet faced with the food system we have today?
Well, you have to be prepared to face some it's an uphill battle, first of all, because the food system is what it is, and we are facing a, a big challenge. I mean, it's quite frankly, the food system needs to be overhauled. So thinking about that this way, it gives you more courage, because you know that you're in the right side of the battle, so to say. Because it's a battle, it's a war, really. It really is a war, because this food system is causing serious challenges to the climate, to the planet, to our livelihood, to our health. This current food system. So if you come with the thinking that not only your product that you are bringing, a product that are coming with integrity, that are coming with the health of the planet, the health of the consumers, the health of the producers themselves in mind. So that's already half the battle, really, because you already know that you're on the right side. So at this stage, you obviously need to have the right tools as well to educate people, because I also believe that the consumers are also inherently looking for that. They are looking for, they're conscious, and they're looking for products that are good for them. Sometimes they're even willing to pay a little more when they know that this is going to go for the right cause. This is going to go for the right method of agriculture. This is going to actually even be better for their own consumption themselves. They know that this is a food that hasn't been treated with entrants that are foreign to nature, really. So anyway, so this is I guess this is how you do it. You have the right approach. You come with integrity, and then you also know that it's not going to be easy, but there is a great demand there. And looking at that, conscious of that, I think you can do anything.
Amazing. Thank you. Fabricio, maybe talk a bit about some of new products that you're bringing to market, the one you were just telling me about, and sort of how that is what Pierre was speaking to. How is that kind of coming from origins, coming from place, and yet designed to satisfy a hungry market, as Pierre said.
Yeah.
What are some products that you're working on releasing now?
So it's a nice question, Ethan and everyone. So I started making the sauce, banana ketchup, banana barbecue, using the local chilies to make the banana hot sauce as well, using the entire banana to produce and give some sweet without sugar, for example. And I mix in other sauce the banana spice jam, making some jam to use in breads and toasts that many propose. And so, but I thought, how can I use the banana peel? So I have a lot of banana peels. I'm still wasting. And I decided to use the banana peels because I use the organic banana, so I can use that. And I made, you know, a kind of a deep, we call in Brazil is a bananada, because I created this term, but it's a kind of a caponata. Pierre maybe knows about this kind of, it's not a sauce, you know, it's a kind of deep, it's something creamy to use in breads. It's from Italian, yeah. And I made a caponata using banana peels, making the bananata. So, okay, I'm eating bananas. Yeah, you're still eating bananas. And now I'm able to use the entire fruit at zero waste. This is very nice. And after that, okay, well, I have I'm using the pulp of the banana. I'm using the peels. What I can do more? I want to do more. So banana is something, and everybody knows. If you live in your kitchen or in your fridge, it start to be ripe very fast. Yeah. So, okay, some bananas no, but we know why, because they don't become ripe very fast. But talking about the regular ones, yeah. So how can I do that? How can I try to change this kind of acceleration of a mature, you know, and waste less? So I decided to freeze dry the banana to give 1 year more with life. Yes, saying this kind of term, but keeping 95% of the nutrition properties, you know. But when I made the freeze dried bananas and keeping the sweet, the crunchy when you bite, you know, the nutrition properties, I have to use this to do another thing. So, you know, it's a kind of sequencing, you know, okay, now I'm making, producing a chocolate using the banana to give a crunchy and a sweetness in the inside the chocolate, because it's a 70% cocoa, and using to make a banana powder using the same freeze-dried bananas, and using the same dried bananas to put inside the juice or something you want to give some sweet. So I have a banana beer as well, using the banana dried, but the regular banana dried, not the freeze dried ones. And I have this is a kind of test, but you have a banana ice. It's when you freeze the bananas, because it's very ripe, you make like a sorbet. So I'm trying to give more life, shelf life of this. Yeah,
it's like you have a whole ecosystem around the banana, right? It's not, you weren't just like, let me use this ingredient in this product. It's like the ingredient itself, the banana itself, becomes the inspiration for all of these different forms. It's amazing.
And I'm trying to you know, to attend the health gap you have in entire world, to give something to finding like flavor taste, as Pierre Thiam says. So chefs looking for give some with a flavor, with a food experience, but I mean I want to still giving a healthy purpose as well. So that's the mindset, the thinking. Yeah,
that's amazing. And Pierre, you have also in your own way been growing an ecosystem of products around fonio, and I've been watching. I'm on your Instagram feed. I'm a customer of yours, and so I'm always watching to see, what are the new products coming out. So I don't know, maybe if you could tell us a bit about what new products are coming online, and maybe some insight into how you're innovating towards them from this sort of ecosystem perspective.
Yeah, well, it's all happening organically, so to say. For me, like the goal was really, the vision was centered around the traditional small farmers system in Africa, really, and I wanted to make sure I bring opportunities for those small farmers in a way that also doesn't affect not only their method of their tradition, but that doesn't affect the environment in a negative way, So the environment and the farmers was centered, So the farmers had a tradition of growing crops like fonio. So I wanted, fonio to be the center of it, but they don't grow only fonio. And the challenge with this, if I was focusing on fonio, I could create another problem, because the farmers, knowing that they can get cash from fonio because I'm buying it at fair trade price from them, they will just focus on growing fonio and disregard those other crops that they have been doing traditionally. And they have been doing it traditionally for a reason, not just because they like eating it, but also because the soil benefits from a rotational type of agriculture. So if I was supporting only fonio, that would just be a disservice, because they will start only growing fonio. Do you know what I mean, right? And then they would ignore these other crops. So my goal was to figure out a way to find markets for those other crops, so that they keep continuing growing them. And those other crops happen to be also great crops, great products. So one of them, for instance, is Bambara beans that we plan to bring back to the market. Bambara beans is like a peanut without the allergens of peanuts. We are just starting now to get the network of farmers to get back into growing Bambara beans. So it's going to take some time before we have sufficient amount of Bambara beans to bring to market. But there are also other products as well that we already have in the market. We have, for instance, baobab. Baobab is a superfood. It's delicious. It's great, and it's a product of foraging. It's coming from a giant tree that you see throughout the savannah. And that tree is like, it's really so much benefits from the tree itself. So we add baobab in our fonio products. We have moringa that we add in our fonio products. Moringa is the leaf that's like so full of protein that grows in a sustainable way throughout the savannah of Africa, that grows also in India and other parts of the world. But that's another product that we want to support, because it's great for the environment and it's great for yourself as you consume it. So we add moringa in our greens, as you can see here. This our fonio greens, and other products. Another one is called dawa dawa. It's a fermented locust bean, and dawa dawa is also talking about how nothing goes to waste. Dawa dawa is the seed of a fruit, and that fruit is called nere. Nere is an interesting fruit because that's a tree, not only that grows sustainably in the region, but it has a way to enrich the soil. When you grow fonio around trees of nere, the production almost doubles.
Wow.
So there are ways to do it without using chemical nutrients. There are ways to do it if you understand how nature works, if you are in tune with nature. And to be in tune with nature is to really listen to the tradition, to listen to those farmers. Those farmers, coming with them with humility to learn, because there's so much knowledge that's been passed on from generation to generation. And sometimes we think that because we're coming from a modern world with modern equipment, we can come and teach them. And there's so much, that's the opposite, really. We have to learn from them, because they're bringing knowledge that's been passed on. And that's crucial, that's crucial knowledge. So anyway, those are the products. This is how we think about products. How we think about adding products. And the list goes on and on. There's like thousands of other products out there that we need to bring, to save biodiversity and for our own selves, for our own pleasure, really.
It's amazing. And so like I have the pilafs I've eaten, and then I think I just saw you launch, there's a chip, right? Is there like a cracker or a chip? And is that
a chip? Yeah, this is one of them. This is the green chips. We launched four chips flavors. As a matter of fact, if you're in New York City today, if you get the New York Times, you're on the front page.
Hey.
So the chips are on the front page of the New York Times today. I mean, that's for an article that came out last week, but it came in print today. So anyway, the chips are our newest product. And we are very excited about it because that's part of not only the fast growing category, it's a snack, but in addition to that, it's a way to educate people too, because most consumers don't know what fonio is, or they don't know what these African products are. So if you present it to them in a way that they don't have to think through the whole cooking, it's a chip, just grab it and snack it. So that's easier for them. And then next step, they'll see it, less intimidating, and they can go ahead and get the grains or the things.
This is great. This goes right to the next question I wanted to ask, which is about both of you are chefs and creating these products. And so I'm curious how, and if you watch the Yolélé Instagram, not only do you see the chips and the things, but you see these amazing foods that I could cook at my home with fonio, all these recipes. And so I'm curious, how does innovation differ? What's different about innovating in the kitchen, innovating, as a chef for a restaurant versus innovating for a packaged product, a CPG product? What's the difference between them? Let's go, Pierre, and then we'll go pick that up from Fabricio as well.
Oh, well, the ideation is similar when you think about the inspiration, both for me, for my restaurant, and for the products. I always look for inspiration, like I just said, in the tradition. But then that's where it ends, really, because the restaurant, I know I can do something and serve it right away in a plate. I mean, that's an instant result, and I cannot serve it tomorrow. It's for today. Whereas CPG, I have to think for the long term, because this product is going to go from my kitchen or my lab into the truck, into the supermarkets, and then into the consumer's hand. And it has to have a longer shelf life. I have to think about that this way. I have to think about making sure I keep the integrity, but I also allow it's convenient. That's what it is. I mean, CPG is more convenient than for the restaurant. So that's where the difference is. And I think of it this way when I tackle the menu for the restaurant, where I think about the CPG product.
Excellent, very similar. Fabricio, what would you kind of add to that or change? Is it similar for you? Do you think of them differently? What's your process about innovating for the kitchen, innovating for a product?
Yeah, it's a kind of a challenge when we want to deliver something with integrity, like not changing the natural taste or flavor. You want to deliver something like it natural and with a high quality. When in terms of CPG, we always try to design something thinking about how the customers would like to think, or how the customers like to feel when they eat or they open the pack, or sometimes where they will throw the packing. We're thinking about all the cycle. So we open the pack. Are you guys hear me good?
Yeah, it's a little in and out, but we're hearing you okay. Yeah, you can keep going.
Okay, and that's very important to deliver something with integrity. Yeah, and experience to eat have to be like if you catch from the tree, like with some innovation, creativity, but nothing artificial thing. So we designed something to deliver as natural as we can, something natural with integrity, tasty, good, and offering an experience too. So excellent. Where you want to use, how to use, and what we will do with the packing after that. So that's very important for us too.
Right. So you're really stepping into that consumer perspective, that consumer experience, and thinking through, how do we design for that as well as for the flavor and the ingredients that are in the food. There's a really interesting question here from Alessia, who's basically asking about what do you think you have been able to change in the world through your work as a chef, through your work as an entrepreneur? What have you helped to transform, and sort of how do how do you know that? How do you see that? What are you helping to move forward in the world? Let's go Fabricio and then send that over to Pierre.
It's a good question. Yeah, I'm asking it day by day. We have to thinking about resilience all the time because the world is changing in fast year by year. So we have to be faster when we do some action too. In terms of this question, I think I can help people to re-educate how they eating, how they have to think about respect the food and food will respect to you. So when I eat something, I have to think in someone in the farm treat this ingredient, this food very well to give to me, to put in my table. I have to respect this food too and making something nice to nutrition myself. And after that, I will give back to the nature something amazing to not generating positive impacts to the entire world. So there's a kind of cycle. I have to thinking about the cycle. That's my purpose. You know, I want to offer to people not only food, but a concept, the way they can eat, giving some back to the nature, to the world, and benefiting not only their healthy, but the entire world, the people, and the entire chain. You know, that's my purpose, my compromise when I create something innovating in food, because it's not only food. You know,
Right.
it's a kind of mindset and something different, more than food. That's I think.
Yeah, I think that's also why your food tastes so good, is because all of that thought is in there, right? It's not just the banana ketchup, it is this whole understanding of something bigger than yourself that you're touching by eating, by engaging with that food. How about you, Pierre? What do you think you've been able to transform or help to move? I mean, front page in the New York Times, that's a good step. A lot of people are going to see that. So, but yeah, what have you been able to move, transform through your work and your practice?
Well, what I'm hoping to achieve, I mean, absolutely what Fabricio said is very important. In addition, for me, it's the fact that again, I'm on this mission to introduce the food culture of Africa. Really, I'm so sorry. The
Bless
food
you.
culture. Thank you. The food culture of West Africa, in both fronts. You know, in here in the United States. And when I say in the United States, that's because I'm here, but it's in the global vision, really. But in the United States, is the fact that there was very little that was known about African food, West Africa in particular, even though there was so much that was already here. West African food is familiar, like I mentioned, and I like to talk about the Middle Passage. It was here. So for me, it was an educational aspect, you know, educating people about that and doing it with integrity. You know, and on the other hand, I also had the other challenge that was back home, where our own products were not being consumed the way it should be. Like in any place in the world, you consume your own product first. But in Africa, we have been subject to colonialism, and that came with a colonial mentality, which endures even past colonialism. You know, that's what I mean by that is the fact that we tend to think that everything that comes from the West is best. And if you go to our markets, our supermarkets, oftentimes you would see things that are imported in a big majority, sometimes close to 70, 80% of the products are imported from the West, from Europe, from France in particular, when it comes to Senegal, because we were colonized by the French. And we tend to look down at our own products. We look down at products like fonio, for instance, because we think they are substandard. We think that's for country people. Yet those products are much more nutritious, much more, better for our economy, better for our food security to support that. So we were fighting on both fronts, you know, not only reopening markets for those products, making those products attractive for the consumers across the Atlantic and back home as well. And not only make them attractive, but it gives us a sense of pride, you know, to find our own products, you know, in our own shelves, in our own cuisine, in our own market. So I had this education to do back home and to do it over here too. So this was one of my goals to achieve, was to to bring hopefully that day where these African products would be household names. People would be completely comfortable cooking with grains like fonio or sorghum or millet or bambara beans or dawa dawa, as they are with other products that are like that you can name them here, wheat or soy or whatever. So that's really the goal, and the goal is also to get to that place where the the CPG and the food service industry would be more centered around what's good for the people and for the planet, rather than just centered around what's good for the shareholders, bottom line and the bank account. So that's just what the goal is with this venture.
Amazing, brilliant, thank you. To go back to this question about the difference between really having the product in your hand in a restaurant, how do you bridge that gap between the food experience? Is it possible to deliver that same experience of actually, cooking, like a meal kit that comes to your home and you cook it? Can you reproduce that through a product? Does that work? How do you think about doing that? I think is a great question. Pierre, you start us off there.
Yeah, I mean, if I understand the question, how do you reproduce the experience? For us, there's different ways. For instance, when we decided to launch the pilafs, we launched the pilafs last year in the midst of the pandemic, because that was part of the mission, not only to bring the ingredients, but to bring the food culture. So if you notice the pilaf that we launched, we have, like, for instance, this one, the Jollof pilaf. Jollof is the recipe that's very popular in West Africa. And there's actually even a war happening around Jollof. Nigerians are saying to Ghanaians that they make the best Jollof, and vice versa. So now you can go to the supermarket around the United States and buy the fonio Jollof pilafs and have your experience of Jollof in 5 minutes. It's just basically what it is. You can either put it on the stovetop and add water, and that's it. You have your jollof. So that's what inspired us. This is another one, yassa. It's another traditional recipe with caramelized onions, acidity, and lime and chili. So there's some heat to it as well. It's a traditional recipe, very popular in Senegal. So you can bring that experience back to your home, and so that's on and on, So so there's so many ways to do it. Including the packaging. Even the real estate of your packaging gives that information and educate people. If you turn our package around, you can see not only geographically where it's located. So, there's a QR code that you can also scan and travel directly to our website that will take you into more information and storytelling. So there's ways to do it that are not exactly what you would get if you are back in Senegal, but this is the closest thing you can do by bringing it to your home.
Thank you. Excellent. Fabricio, I want to go on to the next question here. There's some good questions coming in. Erica had a question about what are some of the challenges you've faced as you're building your supply system? I'm not going to say chains. I don't believe supply chains exist in the world. Chains are more related to some of what Pierre was talking about and colonialism. And so I never use the word supply chain. So I'll say supply system. What are some of the challenges that you faced in creating the supply system for your products? Fabricio, and then Pierre, if you want to add.
Yeah, so good question too. So the big challenge was a little, not too much in terms of innovation. But people sometimes have a custom, something like a tradition to eat something regular, like tomato ketchup or barbecue from tomatoes, beer from hot, not mixing with other fruits. And the challenge is when you try to offer something different, to innovate with using a same concept, same product, for example. Yeah. When I did and when I make the sauce, And I tell everybody, so now I have a banana ketchup. There's a banana ketchup, but I used to eat banana, the fruit, not the sauce. How can be good? Yeah, so you have to taste. Yeah, something like that. Now, my answer is that. So the big
Yeah, it's
industry
more on
tries
that.
sometimes to pressure you. Oh, okay, so the regular things is the normal things. So tomato to make sauce, bananas to make vitamins or smoothies. You know, this kind of challenge that I face it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Pierre, challenges you
Um,
faced.
my supply system, I like that word. I'm going to steal it now. Something was always wrong when I say supply chain, and now you just broke it down to me. So the challenges are money, of course, especially when you're bringing a product that people never heard of, a new product. So it starts with the supply for me at the source. And again, that confirms that philosophy of focusing on making sure the producers are well off. Supporting the producers, um, accompanying them, figuring out ways to equip them so that they can produce in a way that's in a wholesome way enough for the market. So before when I came to Fonio with my small farmers, Fonio, they were growing Fonio for their own subsistence, and now they had to switch that and produce more fonio, not only for their own subsistence, enough for their subsistence, but enough for creating a market, because fonio was that kind of a crop that not only grow easily in their environment, it grows in poor soil, it regenerates their soil. So there was so many benefits to them. But in addition, now that was a source of income for them now. So creating that I needed to support them, to equip them, to organize this supply system that would take the paddy, the fonio paddy, to the processing. Processing as well is still a work in progress, but we are working towards getting a processing that's all mechanized so that we can have fonio that has the standards of the international standards. So we can also make sure fonio is accessible for multinational companies, which in turn, sometimes we think of them as the devil, but in reality, they could be allies, if we have a way to collaborate with them. Imagine a company like Unilever or Kellogg's using fonio, even 1% of fonio in their products. That makes a big impact, so creating that, making that connection was key to us. And to make that connection is impossible unless you have really a reliable processing method, so that's the only way. And the supply is reliable too, and the sourcing, and making sure the sourcing follows the demand. That's very important, that the source follows the demand. Otherwise, you come to a problem similar to the quinoa problem, where there's a boom and there's a great demand, and then everyone is coming, like big capitalist system is coming to get that new grain that everyone wants, but the supply is not there following that. So that creates a bust, and that creates the price is going all over the place, and there's no regulations anymore. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So that's how we need to work on a supply system that takes into consideration the sourcing in a way that the sourcing is following the demand.
Excellent. Thank you. There's a great question here from Katie, who's asking about how do you communicate the sustainability, the positive impacts to the consumer? Is it just through writing the information on the package? What are the modes you use to communicate about sustainability to the consumer? So Pierre, and then we'll pass it to.
Oh, so many ways, like the media, for instance, events like yours, it is definitely a way to communicate. The packaging absolutely would be a missed opportunity if you don't use it to communicate. In my case, as a chef, I even wrote a whole cookbook. My last cookbook was focused on fonio. As a matter of fact, there it is. You know, and that takes you through the journey of fonio, talking about the sustainability. We travel with a photographer, going to the source, spending time with the farmers and the producers and the processing, and then the cooking. So it's not just a cookbook with recipes. It takes you through the whole thing, and why it's important that the crops like this are supported because of their sustainable aspects. Yeah.
Excellent. Fabricio, how are you thinking about communicating to consumers?
Yeah, we used to use the packing to communicate, the social networking too, so to post some information about what we are doing, what we think, the trends, and participate from some webinars too. So I'm trying to all the time to give information and offer a good information to people to keep them connected with us. So not only using through the food and the products, but using the internet, the relationship we can do in the internet is very good too. But even some people doesn't have internet to be connected, use the packing to give some information too.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to ask one last question, and maybe even get you everyone out of here a minute or so early. But so this last question for both of you, will go with Fabricio first, and then to Pierre to wrap up. Is where do you want to see the CPG and food service, the CPG and restaurant industries go in the next 10 years? What would you like to see happen in both the product innovation, restaurant innovation? What's your sort of vision for what you'd like to see happen in the next 10 years? Fabricio, start us off.
Yeah, so I'm trying to encourage people, through Feitosa Food Tech, through Fabricio as a chef, to offer more experience, not only put the food on the plate, you know what I mean? Where the food came from, what we do to transform and offer the high quality of this material, this food, and what culture you want to put in the plate as well. So, and flavor and taste and texture. So offer more than a nutrition food, but a nice storytelling, culture, and nutritional food. You know, I think Fabricio, Pierre, and Feitosa, Yolélé have this kind of a mission, you know, to encourage others to do the same thing. So in 10 years, I want to see more Pierre's, more Fabricios, more Ethans, you know, more people like us transforming and helping to transform the way to eat, you know, maybe putting the packing, maybe putting the plate, but putting in the farm, but the whole people, the entire supply chain working together for one goal, you know, see this world better and our health better connected. That's my thinking and my, you know, the way I think. So
love it. Thank you. Pierre, what would you like to see happen in the next 10 years?
Yeah, similarly as Fabricio, absolutely seeing a new food system that really takes into consideration, that begins with the planet, first of all, you know, that begins with the planet, because, you know, it's just senseless. It's like a suicide to keep going the way we are going, and knowing that our food system is responsible for 70% of the world potable water is used to grow our food. That's an example, for instance. You know, we need to think about those things, the impact it's having, the entrants that we are using to grow more food out of season, you know, the chemicals, all those things, you know, not only that, but talking about the whole food system in general, that brings the greenhouse gas emission to like 1/3, close to 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emission is caused by this food system. So we need to, I mean, in 10 years, I would hope that we would take that into consideration and focusing on crops that are not making our planet sicker, the opposite actually. And those crops are crops like fonio that are drought resistant, that grow in poor soil, that regenerates the soil. And there are thousands of other crops like this that I would love to see in the CPG and food service industry being used, not only because that saves the biodiversity, but that's also great for us, great for the consumers to have a diversified diet, you know, to be able to make make the right choices. You know, everyone should be able to go to a market and find at an affordable price products that are good for them and good for the planet, and don't have any hesitation getting them because of the price or because of the accessibility. So yes, this is what we're thinking the future should be, and the future should definitely also take into consideration the sourcing. Like Fabricio said, the whole chain, the whole system should be included, beginning with the producers, the farmers, the small family farmers in particular, who are producing those crops, and then those ones should be benefiting from it. And this, what we're doing, what Fabricio and I and other people, should be a model of development as we go to not only develop those communities, but develop ourselves and our planet in a wholesome way.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Fabricio. This was amazing. Thanks everybody for your questions and participation. Please come to the next sessions and get in touch if you want to join the Product Innovation Working Group. Thanks everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. See you.